There are ongoing conservation projects across the country to help endangered wildlife.
But in Oregon, an effort to save a fish threatened a city's water supply. Environmentalists say Shinuk salmon are vital in the Pacific Northwest as a source of food. And in 2021, a lawsuit filed by 3 environmental groups forced the lowering of a reservoir by 140 feet to provide the fish safe passage downriver.
At the beginning of 2023, you can see the clear blue water around the Green Peter Dam. It's the Middle Santiam River that once fueled recreation, but by the end of the year, there was very little water left. And residents in Sweet Home say it's caused poor water quality around their city.
Reporter Adrian Thomas spoke to several people about how it's changing their routines and has an in-depth look at possible solutions.
It was literally the day after they started the drawdown. I could tell the water was starting to get murky.
Dozens of people sent us photos showing brown, murky water coming out of their faucets. Kayla Smith is one of them.
I tried to fill my bathtub up with water after work to take a bath, and it was murky and brown.
City leaders say Sweet Home's water treatment plant has been stretched thin since extra sediment and debris built up in the water supply that feeds the plant. Kelsey Young is Sweet Home's city manager.
I don't think any of us, Army Corps included, expected what we have. Our water treatment plant that should have been absolutely ready for any type of drawdown wasn't ready for these type of conditions.
Young also tells us the city had to increase the level of chlorine that's added to the untreated water to combat the murky color. Young says the chlorine levels in Sweet Home's drinking water were still well within state limits, but families there noticed the change.
When I'm in the shower, it smells like you're in an indoor swimming pool. It almost makes your eyes start to water. It's not something you should be showering in, I don't feel like.
People say they're used to that reservoir being not only a reliable source of clean water for their homes, but a tourist attraction for fishermen and other lake recreation. Scott McKee says he's now worried about the town's future.
It messes with your security in your home. It messes with your decisions on whether you want to continue to live in a community that's having those problems and whether people want to move here and buy homes or start businesses.
Greg Taylor works as a fish biologist for the Army Corps and gave testimony in the federal court proceedings. He says because of the judge's order requiring action as soon as possible, lowering Green Peter Reservoir was the only option to provide safe passage for Chinook salmon to migrate out to the Pacific Ocean.
Well, these juvenile fish are pretty surface oriented. And during the wintertime, we only have 2 pathways for them to get out of the dam. One is the turbine unit. Unfortunately, at this site, that turbine unit doesn't have very good survival associated with it. The second option is a regulating outlet. That's a safe route, but it's very deep in the reservoir and fish can't find it effectively. So drawing the reservoir down helps kind of narrow the depth to that intake.
Taylor says because of salmon migratory patterns, providing a safe passage is vital to survival.
They need to go out to the ocean, get larger, come back as an adult. So if they don't make that migration, a tiny fraction of them will ultimately end up staying in the reservoir and theoretically could go spawn, but it's a really small fraction. So most of them eventually just die without spawning.
Sweet Home leaders tell us they just want to figure out who to hold accountable for the town's water problems.
I'd rather not have something with the Army Corps. I'd rather us come up with some sort of solution, and I know that they are in a rock and a hard place too.
And people who live in Sweet Home say they feel forgotten, left to deal with the long-term impact of the actions of those who don't truly understand their community.
To the environmental groups, I would say that you need to be more cautious, that you need to be involved in more of the pre-planning and all the possible side effects of the actions that you're forcing upon the federal government, and take ownership. Show up in the community and actually participate, actually answer questions.
The 3 environmental groups behind the legal effort released a joint statement saying in part, quote, "All communities deserve clean and reliable drinking water, and we are committed to working with state and federal leaders to help craft a solution that provides immediate relief for Sweet Home and other impacted Oregonians." The Army Corps says the reservoir has since been refilled, but the same drawdown operation is planned for at least 1 more year. At that time, the impact on the salmon population will be reevaluated. In Portland, Oregon, I'm Adrian Thomas.